Did you know that how we feel is more important than what we do for both our physical and mental health? I'll unwrap that statement more in this video. What's up everyone, welcome to my channel, the best place to learn how to create an online business around your passions. In today's video, I want to talk about what seems to be the never-ending pursuit of happiness for the majority of people. Did you know that at any one time, there's over 1 billion adults that suffer from anxiety and depression worldwide? And often our kids see how busy we are. They see us struggle every day to find our own happiness. The World Health Organization states that the best predictor of whether a child becomes a satisfied, healthy, and happy adult is their emotional health throughout childhood. And if the majority of us struggle to find it as adults, we begin to program the next generation of kids to do the same thing without even meaning to. You see, my wife and I are about to have our first child, so I'm recording this video not only to hopefully help anyone who is watching this in some way, but also to reaffirm a lot of things I've learned on this journey of life that we share together. My goal is to clear up my thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors that aren't serving me before my kids arrive. First of all, if you're not happy right now, it's totally okay. Go easy on yourself. Hopefully after watching this video, you'll be equipped with some basic concepts that you can put into practice that will help you tune into that inner childlike happiness so you can go out into the world and share that light with other people. Okay, let's get started. So happiness is a byproduct of your thoughts and behaviors, not other people's thoughts and behaviors. What that means is happiness doesn't happen to you, it's a choice. Here are 9 lessons I've learned in my life so far to rediscover a childlike happiness. The first one is, your thoughts can make you sick. This one is close to my heart as I personally developed an autoimmune disease due to chronic stress during my time in academia and after the loss of a family member. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything. So I'm going to take a deeper dive into the teachings of Dr. Joe Dispenza, which have helped me a lot in learning how to think. Because no matter how much we spend at college or school, we don't really get taught what healthy thoughts are, or the responsibility each of us have to keep our thoughts in check. Humans are the only species that can turn on the fight or flight response by thought alone. The hormones of stress cause blood to rush to our extremities, ready to run or fight. And blood for our other organs are reduced. So this is good and expected when we're in danger. But perhaps when you are dealing with an angry email at work, toxic work environment, constant pressure to perform, or your time is so divided you're constantly rushing everywhere, perhaps even conflict with another family member. Most of us live in this state the majority of our working lives, constantly hopped up on caffeine, on the edge, waiting for the next email to react to. In this state, we are constantly expecting the worst to happen. The thing is, over a long period of time, other parts of our bodies begin to suffer, and we can become sick. It also starts to affect relationships. It might start out as a mood at first, but that mood can over time become a personality trait which is programmed into us to behave a certain way when we interact with the world around us. Dr. Joe Dispenza puts it like this: the majority of time in our waking day, we are putting all of our focus and attention on things, people, and places. And when we are living in the hormones of stress, we are essentially living in survival. So when we're feeling anxious, worried, angry, judgmental, guilty, self-conscious, unworthy, and so forth, it's a good indication that we are living by hormones of stress. Our body gets addicted to it like a drug, and we end up acting that way out of habit. It feels comfortable, it feels normal, but living that way long-term creates disorder in our bodies at a cellular level. We know that our brains are a record of our past and past experiences and the knowledge that we've gained. The first thing most people do when they wake up in the morning is to think about their problems and behave in a way that anchors themselves to the same feelings and emotions that reaffirm who they are, their personality. And since the brain is a record of the past and those past experiences, those feelings and emotions ground us chemically in the past. So what does that mean? Neurologically speaking, it means they think within the same hardwired circuits that were formed by past experiences. There's a saying in neuroscience, what fires together, wires together. Basically, the more you think about something, it gains momentum, and more similar thoughts will come to you, justifying the way you feel. And if you have ruminated on that thought enough times, it can become a hardwired belief, meaning your neurons physically wire together to form that pathway. The more you activate those pathways, the more ingrained it becomes in your beliefs. It becomes a highway instead of a narrow back street. So that means if we think about the past, we then think chemically and emotionally within the same boundaries of those past experiences, like we are reliving the experience. Actually, our minds don't even know the difference. And so most people's personality and state of being is defined by the past, which means our thoughts, emotions will become predictable because they are simply refiring of past circuits which create the same chemicals. So this means our choices, behaviors, and experiences that await us in the future will then become predictable. People tend to think the same thoughts, then demonstrate the same behaviors that lead to the same experiences, all for the relentless pursuit of the familiar emotions of their old personality. Tony Robbins says it can be dangerous to tie our happiness to the blueprint that we've created for ourselves, because our blueprint of happiness is generally distorted by our past experiences and the hormones of stress. The hormones of stress force us to focus on material things as a means to find happiness. A new car, new shoes, new laptop, ultimate holiday, shopping spree, new house. To quench that thirst for happiness temporarily, sometimes we get really obsessive about it. Many professions think we live in a time where the younger generation might not outlive their parents due to the increase in chronic illnesses such as heart disease, cancer, and autoimmune conditions, many of which can be seen as byproducts of the stressful lifestyle of the Western world. If you're not happy, it's much harder to go for a walk. It's much harder to prepare healthy food. It's much harder to do the things you know are good for you, like sleeping well and self-care. It takes more energy, it takes more motivation, but we know stress increases chances of depression, anxiety, digestive problems, weight gain, heart disease, and so much more. So, don't we owe it to ourselves and the people we love to find happiness now, not later when something external has to fall into place? So, we know our thoughts can make us sick, which is well documented. So that leads to the big question, can our thoughts make us well? Well, I know there's still a lot of research going on this topic these days, so I would recommend you check out Dr. Joe Dispenza. I'll put a link in the description below and listen to some of his in-depth content. But from my personal experience, I would say that my overall happiness is intimately related to my wellness. The happier I am, the better I feel, the more energy I have, the better decisions I make about health and business. And the remaining lessons in this video are the things I have learned which all help with finding happiness. But the important thing is to remember, don't let your negative thoughts degrade your quality of life. Learn how to identify thoughts which make you feel sad. Sometimes it will seem like they come out of nowhere because they're hardwired circuits, and reframe them into a positive light. Learn to forgive, because holding a grudge is more detrimental to your health than it is the person who wronged you. Perhaps think about if any good came from the negative past experience. Sometimes it takes a traumatic event for us to start on a path of self-discovery. So perhaps give thanks for that. Okay, the second tip is challenge any limiting beliefs that you have. If you have limiting beliefs, you will live a limited life. Most people believe life is hard. They believe you have to work long hours to see success over 30 to 60 years. They believe in statements like, my life will be better when I have enough money, I have a new house, I have a new car, I have a new job. They believe there is so much injustice and sadness in this world, and misery and even hate in this world. They also try and rely on things that are out of their control to provide happiness, like real estate, markets, employers, relationships, other clients, or stock markets. Some people even believe they're not worthy of happiness, or their best days are behind them. They believe in fitting in, playing safe, controlling everything, and keeping their head down will give them a better life, free from all that chaos out there. They like to keep to the same pattern which gives them the same results, keeping them comfortable in what is known, but with regrets. They can live a reasonable life with a reasonable job, but not a life full of passion and purpose. Sure, some certainty and stability is nice, but too much means you're in a bubble. Their happiness is dependent on what happens to them in their circumstances. They are not in control of life, life is control of them. The thing I realized was, you get what you search for. So if you're looking for injustice, you'll find it. If you're looking for things to be afraid about, you'll find it. But you may do it unintentionally, It could have been something wired years and years ago, and now you're operating on autopilot from a belief system that isn't serving you. We know that once we're in our 30s, we are pretty well set in our ways, meaning it is an uphill battle to change our personality. But the good news is, due to the latest research on neuroplasticity, we can still change. It's just easier when we were younger. So if you begin to change your outlook on life to be more positive and look for things to be happy about, you'll start to find them. If you look for things to laugh about, you'll start to find them. If you think about things to be happy about, you'll get joy from it. So let's begin to undo some of those hardwired circuits. When you wake up every morning, say these words 5 times in front of the mirror. Number 1, I decide how I feel no matter what will happen today. Number 2, I have so much to appreciate in my life. Number 3, I am defined by a vision of the future. Anything is possible. Number 4, I am joyful and I attract joyful experiences. Number 5, I extend grace and kindness in every interaction. Then spend some time trying to keep your mind clear while you're focusing on a feeling of appreciation for as long as you have time in your busy schedule. Once you get to a state of truly believing these things, you may spontaneously find yourself with a smile on your face regularly. At first, you'll feel like an imposter for sure, and the hardwired circuits in your brain will be very pessimistic when saying these words. You may even get some negative thoughts and it will feel uncomfortable, but persist and those negative thoughts will begin to dissipate. Like any good habit, it will take around 20 days or so before you start to find it easier and make you feel less of a clown talking in front of the mirror every time. You've got this. Okay, the second point is, before you help others, you must first help yourself. Generally speaking, sick people can't help sick people, poor people can't help poor people, angry people can't help angry people, and so forth. Getting a good morning routine which helps both your mental and physical health is important. And it's something you shouldn't compromise on for the sake of work. Your health overrides work. That may be a brisk 20-minute walk or run while listening to something motivational, or a full hour of mindfulness of yoga. It's different for every person. The goal in your morning routine isn't just to get your steps in or to lose weight or to get stronger. First and foremost, it should be to realign to that feeling of appreciation and gratitude before you enter a world of traffic, arguments, and competitive beliefs. The more time you spend deliberately choosing to feel good, the more you will flourish throughout your day. Developing self-care habits or routines will prepare you for the day. You'll be more productive, you'll be more generous, you'll brighten up other people's day, people will ask you, I'll have what you having. A pro tip to turbocharge your self-care throughout the day is to work on something that you are passionate about. I know it doesn't seem that related, but when you actually make progress towards a passionate vision you have, even if it's just something small, it feels so good. And you can ride the wave of endorphins to go for a walk or a run, and it just has a snowball effect. There's a famous quote, "A life void of passion is not a life at all. You just simply live and then you die." So definitely find something that lights you up, even if it's just a hobby. If you don't have the luxury to work on something that lights you up, you could follow Tony Robbins' advice, which is to change your life, change your state. If you're feeling grumpy, annoyed, frustrated, angry, lazy, whatever it is, just start moving, change your physical state, and your emotional state will follow. So run on the spot, do something wacky and wild to increase your heart rate, alertness, and mood. The point is, you have control over how your body feels. Your body doesn't have control over how you should feel. It's better than a coffee. The other important thing is to clear your head of all the problems you have in your life first thing in the morning, and start the day strong with an appreciation that no one can steal from you. Then try and maintain it throughout the day. Love and joy are not emotions, but in fact, they are natural states of being. And emotions are only negative, like fear, anger, shame, guilt, and so forth. So all we have to do is get our analytical mind out of the way and tap into our playful natural self. Alright, the fourth point is to define yourself by a vision of the future. Okay, so we know our mind is a record of the past, and if we decided to live life on autopilot and just keep to the program that our hard-coded mind tells us, based on our past experiences, we will most likely drift through life and 10 years later nothing has changed. So we know what you give your attention to will become your experience through your thoughts and behaviors of the past. But conversely, if you put your attention on something new, like this video or building an online business, and think about what life would be like if that was the reality, it's more likely to become your experience in life. It's more likely you will change your thoughts and behaviors to make it a reality. So, put your attention on new things to experience new things. If you define yourself by a vision of the future, you will move toward a new vision of yourself, which will change your hardwired circuits to make your life less predictable. Practice seeing the good in those experiences and in others. Don't let fear of failure hold you back from living your life without regrets. Leave who you were, love who you are, and look forward to who you will become. When you embrace uncertainty, that's when the unfamiliar unknown of your vision can actually become a reality. Okay, the fifth tip is you are wired for love and generosity. As an engineer, I would have never thought that I would be using such emotive words. But with my health wake-up call and the journey of self-discovery, it uncovered so much I was completely unaware of about life. And that is, humans are innately emotive beings. It's not that I was unaware, it's like I just didn't really gauge what it meant and how applicable it was to my life of computer programming and soldering. Well, scientists have discovered that all of us are wired to give or serve in some way. It gives us a natural high, literally. Endorphins run high and serotonin, the love hormone, increases and our cortisol level drops. So giving is a great way to reduce stress and feel happy. We actually get more out of it than the person receiving, especially when there's no conditions around it, like you'll get something in return. In the book, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, he goes even further to say, we're also wired for love and joy. He states that love and joy are not actually emotions, but they are in fact the natural state of being. And only emotions are negative, like fear, anger, shame, guilt, and so forth. And to tap into love and joy, all we have to do is get out of our analytical mind so we can focus on our inner being. So try it. Do something spontaneous for someone you care about or someone you don't even know. You're wired for it, so get creative. You'll feel goosebumps when you have such a random positive interaction. But keep in mind, when we place conditions on it, like, I'll do this if I get X, then the ability to feel that high is usually diminished, especially if you set that expectation and you become disappointed, either because you didn't receive X or the person didn't really recognize or appreciate what you did, because they expected it as well. Sometimes I think people feel unappreciated at work because of this phenomenon. They give away something of themselves with a heart of generosity but feel unappreciated because what you're doing is being judged and examined. It's no longer a gesture of free will or a gift, it's an expectation that you will do it in exchange for money. I'm not saying jobs are bad at all, I'm just saying that the human instinct to serve and be generous comes from the heart, but the heart doesn't understand the nature of an employment contract. Albert Einstein once said, "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant." And we've created a society which honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. Alright, the sixth tip is to lean into loving relationships. A 75-year-long Harvard study of adult development tracked the lives of 724 men from when they were children to when they were seniors. People from the poorest neighborhoods who had become rich people who had become poor, including factory workers and doctors, etc. The study found that without a doubt, the best predictor on whether they would grow into a healthy adult wasn't their cholesterol or diet, it was how satisfied they were in their relationships. There are a few other key takeaways I just want to summarize quickly. And the first is, people who are lonely, their health and brain function declines faster in midlife. The other thing is, it's not the number of friends you have, it's not whether you're in a committed relationship, it's the quality of the relationships you have. Living in the midst of conflict over time is bad for your health. Conversely, living in the midst of warm relationships is protective for your health. The people that were the most satisfied within their relationships at the age of 50 were the most healthiest at the age of 80. Sure, we might all bicker from time to time, but as long as they feel that we can trust the person we're with and we can keep our minds sharper for longer, The people who fared the best in their health leaned into relationships with family, friends, and the community. Family feuds take a terrible toll on the people who hold the grudges. And sure, people might think that if they retire early, they might die young due to idle hands. But actually, in this study, the people who retired and actively replaced their workmates with new friends were the healthiest. If you went into isolation after retirement, that's when your health declines. So, if you find a way to be satisfied in life moment by moment, you will live a long life. How you feel is more important than what you do for both your physical and mental health. Alright, the 7th tip is how to handle toxic people. Most videos out there tell you to avoid toxic people outright because it's a surefire way to extinguish all your hard work in becoming a new self with their vibes and opinions. And I used to believe this, and I would get so uneasy when I would have to spend time with an overly negative person, until I really understood that it's all about how you feel that leads to unhappiness and poor health. So I never want to give the power to another person to change how I feel. So practically, I found it pretty hard to outright avoid negative people, especially if those people are family members and close friends. Here's my take on it. Self-care is everything. When you wake up and straight away start deliberately thinking and feeling all the things you appreciate in life for as long as you can, I find that builds my emotional resilience to last for the whole day. If something happens and throws me off my appreciation high, I strive to never react in the situation and take a deep breath and proactively find my way back to that place again. But essentially, as you get better at this with practice, you're able to spend time with people who are not in the same headspace as you. You may sense their disjointed, frustrated, angry vibes, but you know in your soul that your vibes are stronger. And you know what? When you treat them with unconditional love and positivity, it might actually be hard for them to be toxic. I do employ strategies to steer the conversation in the positive direction, which also helps. But it's still tricky, I know. It's not always what they say, it's also about what they don't say, which can be toxic. Obviously, that person is going through their own journey, but it isn't your responsibility to fix them. Besides, if you are your best self, they might only need to be around you for you to influence them in a positive way. Also, make sure you do find people to insert into your life that do share your beliefs and support your vision and not tear it down. That is medicine for the soul and will keep you motivated. Okay, the 8th tip is to let your ego go and let your emotions flow. We know now that it's better to feel good than it is to be right. Why is it so important that so many of us need to be right? Sure, in some life or death situation it's important, but in social conversations, sometimes, especially us guys, for some reason, we want to relentlessly persist that we are right, like a dog with a bone. It's a strange phenomenon. The reality is, being right or wrong doesn't matter. Only what feels good matters, for the sake of our relationships. Let me tell you gents, pride has a way of feeling good in disguise. What does feel good is not being afraid of being wrong. In fact, being vulnerable feels good. Being humble feels good. Sure, you might think it's a weakness, because through the generations somehow men have this inherited trait. Feeling emotions is weakness. Actually, it's a strength. Check out the book by Brené Brown called Dare to Lead, about creating high-performance leaders through vulnerability. Alright, that brings us to our final point, which is number 9, get out of negative time loops. We all have the same 24 hours in a day, yet somehow wealthy people can earn disproportionately more than what seems humanly possible on an hourly wage. That's because wealthy people don't trade their time for money. They have fundamentally decoupled their effort with remuneration. Their time is their most precious asset in the universe, not something that employers can bargain for, because they are the employers. The only way to have success in a job is to either work longer hours or get more skills to either be promoted or get a higher paying job elsewhere, all dictated by your employer. The 9-to-5 myth. Who actually created the 9-to-5? Was it the scientists in a lab saying that these are the best hours the majority of mankind should be working, best for their health and psychological benefits? No, it was Henry Ford, the founder of the Ford Motor Company, in a time way before the internet in the 19th century, during the Industrial Revolution. It was a one-size-fits-all application which benefits corporations, not our lifestyle. This was a time when starting a brick-and-mortar business meant spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, which very few people had available. But now, with the internet, you can start an online business about something that you're passionate about with a laptop, an internet connection, and very little money in comparison, when there is no limit to what you can earn. The most important thing here is, after work, after sleep, after making dinner, after making breakfast, after getting the kids ready for school, if you don't have time for proper self-care, exercise, mindfulness, good sleep, to feel rested, then no wonder you feel stressed. There's a negative time loop in your life which is preventing you from being your best self. How can we recover in just 2 to 4 weeks a year holiday? We can't, because those same 2 to 4 weeks are the same ones that we want to have fun and travel and experience life outside of our 9 to 5 routine. So that means many of us operate out of the hormones of stress 47 weeks of a year just to scrape by. No thanks, I want to be happy every day. Of course there is times of stress, like having a baby, moving a house, etc. But stressful events are meant to come to an end soon. If the stressful event doesn't come to an end and it's sustained over a long period of time, it can cause long-term health issues. I personally want to take the time to stop and be in the moment. I want my work to be something I'm passionate about, which has a massive impact on this world, while also bringing money in on autopilot, which gives my family and I a comfortable lifestyle. I want to spend a lazy afternoon with my kids. I want to treat my wife to a weekend away from a place of happiness and not from a place of stress. This is all possible when you create the space of self-care. Everything starts to work together when your mindset is in a good place and you truly appreciate and are satisfied with who you are, where you are, and you're excited about what's coming your way. So I'll end this with, most people drift through life operating on the hormones of stress with no purpose or joy, thinking their happiness is tied to money, things, people, or places, or the quick fix on social media. But they never really address the mindset, feelings, choices, and behaviors that led to their unhappiness. As you found out in this video, if you do, you can create a life of happiness no matter your circumstances. You have more power than you think. So don't take life too seriously. Choose to have fun today. Mess around, get outdoors, play in the park, or in this case, play a board game in your house because of the coronavirus. But your circumstances don't control you. You control how you respond to the circumstances. If you like this video, please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more motivational content just like this. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.